we created the title for this, Adam, around startups and efficiency for startups. But it really strikes me that every company is looking at ways to bring efficiency now. It's not unique to startups. We're in an environment now where we've gone from more than 10 years of having capital be essentially free for companies to now having it be less so. And so everybody's looking at ways that they can save capital. Definitely, it's been turbulent for anybody for any companies that are funded by the private capital markets. No one knows how long that's going to last. It's anybody's guess. We hope that we're sort of at the end of that cycle. But I think it's always a good exercise to be looking at ways to be more efficient with capital. And so I think it's just a good opportunity for any company, particularly where you sell, to be looking at how you sell and what can help there. I think about kind of just right off the bat, 5 things that a company can be doing in this time where everybody's conscious of spend and trying to be more efficient in the sales motion. One is if we're selling something that goes into a stack with other tools, know what other things can be replaced by you in the stack, because the conversation typically isn't about what can I add to the stack like a lot of companies have been doing in the past. It's what can I take out? And so you really have to be mindful of what am I replacing in the stack, and it's a good exercise to go through. I also think about CFOs are involved in the purchases more now than they ever have been. And so understanding that CFO perspective, one of the easiest ways is to go talk to your CFO in the company. They're probably involved in buying products right now and say, what's most important to you? Sometimes they'll be willing to pay more in order to not have a longer commit. So maybe those are things you can adopt in the sales market. Avoid free trials just as a way to get more opportunities. I find that free trials are not efficient. They end up consuming resources, and that's not what we want to be doing in these times. Sometimes you can shorten a sales cycle by eliminating choices that your customer has. So when you're down to negotiating, eliminate some of those things that can be negotiated in order to speed the process along. You say, these things we don't negotiate on, but we will negotiate on those. And now it takes less time for them to come to a decision. And then probably my last thing is if you're not incorporating outbound, to bring outbound into the mix. So I think this just gives examples of how we need to think differently about the process because the environment's changed, and doing what we've always done isn't going to get it done.
Yeah, and I think when we're talking about the funding side of it as well, the instant reaction is that sort of dry up of some of that capital is a negative thing. The glass half full of it is that it does force sort of the lens and the perception of what it means to build a good company, and it changes it, right? If there was a period of time where, a lot of entrepreneurs were sort of measuring themselves off of some vanity metrics and looking at the next funding as the company milestone. But all of those 5 points you just made really take an outside in look, right? And really focuses on, okay, what is the customer looking for? I have to think about the customer. What are their challenges? What is the way that they buy, right? And I think if you start thinking it from that perspective, that's going to build you a healthier business in the long run. And so maybe there's some short-term pain, especially as for some of the venture-funded companies, the goalpost sort of changed on them of what they needed to do from a revenue perspective to get that next round of funding. But I think long run, this can be a positive thing because it's going to make the companies customer-centric, which I think is going to give them a lot more optionality as they continue to grow.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking, Adam, that if you come up through your career in sales, you end up doing a lot of things. But one of the things you probably never do is buy software. And it's really kind of ironic that we develop a career in sales, in this case selling software, but we've probably never been on the side of the table where we're buying software. And that is a really, really great exercise to understand how to sell better. Now, of course, if you get to be a CEO or a CFO, you've sold, but you're also on the buying side, and so you get to see those things. But a good way to bring that home is to talk to the people in your company that are buying products right now. Talk to the people that are buying software. And that'll be really revealing about the kinds of things you want to think about doing with your customers. They'll tell you about the trade-offs that they have to make. They'll talk about things like what would motivate them to buy now versus later. You have kind of your own focus group right inside the company, which are those people involved in buying for your company. use that as a way to have conversations about the market. Because the one thing we know is that when the conditions change as dramatically as they have, we can't do the same thing. And the other thing is the conversion metrics are not going to be the same. So some companies are going to say, we have to get back to this win rate. We have to get back to this op creation rate. You may not get back to those numbers. I think a more important exercise is to establish a new set of metrics for this new set of conditions and then strive to optimize those instead of trying to get back to the conversion metrics that you have. You may achieve that, but they also may not be achievable in the current market conditions. So those are some things I think that are important to look at.